The Johnny Gosch case. The echo that time never silenced. There are sounds that should never exist in this world. A mother calling out her child's name and hearing no answer. That sound cuts through time like a wound that never heals. It was a quiet Sunday morning in West Des Moines, Iowa, September 5th, 1982. The kind of morning that felt safe, small-town America still wrapped in the illusion that terrible things only happened somewhere else. The sun had barely risen. The streets were empty, the lawns freshly cut, the sprinklers ticking rhythmically. And somewhere in that calm, a 12-year-old boy named Johnny Gosch got on his bicycle to deliver newspapers. He had done it many times before. It was his routine, his little responsibility, his independence. A normal boy in a normal neighborhood on a normal morning. But that morning, Johnny never came home. When Noreen Gosch woke up, she noticed something unusual. The family dog was restless, pacing near the door. She looked at the clock. It was later than usual. Johnny should have been back by now. She went outside and called his name, expecting to see him turn the corner on his bike, smiling like he always did. But the street was silent. Neighbors joined in the search. Within minutes, they found Johnny's wagon filled with neatly stacked newspapers, left on a corner a few blocks from home. His bike was gone. So was he. At first, the police didn't believe it was an abduction. They suggested he'd run away, a theory that would come to haunt the investigation for decades. To them, he was just another restless kid. But to his mother, Noreen, that explanation was impossible. She knew her son. She knew that something dark had happened. Witnesses soon came forward. One described a man in a blue Ford Fairmont talking to Johnny that morning. Another heard a sharp whistle, like a signal. And then nothing. No struggle, no scream. Just the eerie stillness of a Sunday that never ended. As hours turned into days, panic spread through West Des Moines. Volunteers searched the fields, the parks, the creeks. Flyers went up on telephone poles. Newspapers printed Johnny's photo, a boy with bright eyes frozen in time. But the leads went nowhere. Every rumor evaporated as quickly as it appeared. The police had no suspect, no evidence, no plan. And so Noreen Gosch became the investigation. She went to the press. She organized searches. She spoke to anyone who would listen, and to many who wouldn't. She accused local authorities of incompetence, even corruption. She was relentless, turning her grief into motion, her despair into fury. Noreen's fight would go on for decades. And through that fight, she changed America. Because of her efforts, because she refused to be silenced, the U.S. began to recognize the crisis of missing children as a national issue. Her advocacy led to the creation of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and to new laws that forced law enforcement to treat disappearances seriously from the very first hour. Johnny Gosch became the first child to appear on milk cartons across the country. His face, smiling, innocent, hopeful, stared back at millions of breakfast tables. And yet, despite all that exposure, he never came home. Years passed. Hope faded, but it never disappeared. Then strange new details began to surface. In the late 1980s, another paperboy, Eugene Martin from the same area, vanished under nearly identical circumstances. The pattern was undeniable. But again, no one was caught. Noreen began to receive anonymous letters and phone calls. Some claimed to know where Johnny was. Some demanded she stop asking questions. Others sent photographs, disturbing images of young boys tied up, terrified. One of them she believed was her son. The FBI investigated, but the photos could never be verified. The mystery deepened when, years later, Noreen claimed that a grown man had come to her door late at night, accompanied by another individual, and told her he was Johnny. He said he'd escaped from a network of men who had abducted and exploited him for years. He told her he couldn't stay, that he was still in danger. Then he left, and never returned. To this day, no evidence confirms that encounter. But Noreen insists it happened. And when you hear her speak, you hear conviction, not delusion, not confusion, but the unwavering voice of a mother who refuses to let the world forget. By the early 2000s, Technology had become the new hope for the hopeless. Forensic DNA testing, facial reconstruction software, and digital age progression imagery brought cold cases back to life. Experts recreated Johnny's face as an adult, showing what he might look like in his 40s. The image spread online, reigniting a story the world thought it had buried. For families like the Gosches, science became a fragile kind of faith, a belief that maybe, somewhere, technology could bridge the impossible distance between loss and truth. But science could not answer the question that haunted everyone. Where is Johnny Gosch? Over the years, countless documentaries, news specials, and podcasts have revisited the case, each one offering a new theory, a new suspect, a new angle. Some point to organized trafficking rings. Others suggest a cover-up involving powerful people. And some believe the entire web of conspiracies was born from the grief of a mother who could not accept the void. But here's the truth. No one knows. And maybe that's what keeps the story alive. In the absence of closure, the human mind searches for patterns. It fills the silence with speculation. And the more time passes, the louder those theories become. Because silence, real silence, is unbearable. What makes the case of Johnny Gosch so haunting isn't just that he vanished. It's that his disappearance marked the end of something larger, the end of trust, the end of innocence in American suburbia. Before Johnny, parents believed their children were safe walking to school, playing outside, delivering newspapers at dawn. After Johnny, they never did again. He was the turning point, the moment when the world realized that monsters didn't only live in shadows, sometimes they lived right down the street. More than 4 decades later, Noreen Gosch still fights for answers. She's given interviews, written a book, testified before Congress, and in every word, she keeps her son alive. When you see her speak, you notice that her voice sometimes trembles, but her message never does. She says that Johnny's story isn't just hers. It belongs to every parent who has ever waited for a knock on the door that never came. The image of Johnny, the smiling boy on the milk carton, has become part of American memory. But behind that photograph lies a darker legacy, a system that failed, a society that looked away, and a mystery that refuses to fade. Today, investigators and amateur sleuths still revisit the case. Some pore over decades-old witness statements. Others analyze satellite images or compare faces through facial recognition AI. But as of now, the trail remains cold. Johnny Gosch would be in his 50s today, old enough to have children of his own, old enough perhaps to tell the world what really happened. If he's alive, he carries the weight of silence that no one should bear. If he's gone, he became the symbol of every child the world lost too soon, Noreen once said in an interview. People think time heals. It doesn't. It just teaches you how to carry pain without screaming. That sentence has stayed with many who've heard it because that's what this story really is. A scream muffled by time. A truth buried under theories. A mother's heart refusing to give up. More than 40 years have passed since that Sunday morning. The street where Johnny vanished looks the same, quiet, ordinary, peaceful. But if you stand there long enough, you might feel it. That strange stillness, that sense that something is missing. Like an echo trapped in the air, waiting for a voice to answer. Some say the case will never be solved. Others believe that science someday will close the circle. But maybe the real resolution doesn't come from finding Johnny. Maybe it comes from never forgetting him, because the moment we stop remembering, the silence wins. He was just a boy with a bag of newspapers, pedaling into the dawn. And somewhere between one street corner and the next he vanished, taking with him the last breath of America's innocence. Some disappear from the world, others only from the map, but no one disappears from the pain. He went out to deliver newspapers and vanished. And even now, after all these years, the echo of that silence still drifts through the empty streets of Iowa, as if time itself were waiting patiently for an answer that may never come.